your purpose isn't supposed to beat you up. You can't say, I have to do this. The purpose is what you want to do more of. It's what excites you. It's what warms you. It's what you can sprinkle out in the world like glitter and see it land. That's how you find it.
Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast, empowering you with the simple, consistent actions needed to master yourself and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. I'm your host, Agi Keramidas, and my mission is simple: to inspire you to take action towards improving your life. In this podcast, I invite myself inside the minds of remarkable people and I distill their wisdom for you. So, if you're ready to find practical insights that you can implement right now, make sure you follow the podcast and get the episodes as soon as they are released. Speaking of insights, how would you like a free copy of my book, 88 Actionable Insights for Life? It's a book based on the conversations with the notable people I had doing this podcast, and you as my listener can get it now, before its official launch. As a matter of fact, I'm giving it to you as a present. Go to agikeramidas.com/88 to download your copy. And coming to today's episode, if the idea of discovering your purpose appeals to you, then the following conversation with my guest Corbie Mitleid is for you. By the end of the podcast today, you will find out how to discover your sentence of passion, which is your rallying cry, and also how you can overcome your fears by asking powerful questions. This is an insightful conversation. Let's dive right in. Today, it is my real pleasure to speak with Corbie Mitleid. Corbie, you are an intuitive counselor, a trained psychic medium and past life specialist, a certified tarot master, and the author of 3 books. You have been doing intuitive work professionally since 1994, and you are passionate in your job as a beacon of manifestation and vision for your clients. Corbie, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to speak with you today.
It's a delight to be here. Thank you for asking.
I'm looking forward to this conversation very much. There are some topics that I'm really intrigued by, and we will explore intuition, purpose, past lives, and those remarkable insights that can guide us towards a more meaningful life. Before we go there, I would like to ask a little bit about your background. I understand that you were born in a medical family, so
Yes.
I can only imagine that the expectations of your family were different than you pursuing a path as a psychic medium. So tell me a bit about that.
Well, as you can expect, medical people are very left-brained. Everything is what I call tab A into slot B. It all fits. But I was a writer and an actress, and I jokingly say a hippie rebel. This was the late 60s, early 70s. So I did not follow that path. I didn't finish college because I wasn't finding what I needed there. And I was not afraid to try any road that might find who I was, which of course, in a left brain family, that marks you as the failure. Well, live and be well is what I say to that. Everything I did helped me find my true sentence of passion. Your sentence of passion is your vapor trail that you leave behind you in every encounter. For me, it's cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, I am living my bliss. That's my whole purpose.
Just curious, when did you first discover that you had some, let's say, abilities that most people in your environment didn't?
Oh, that's the fun. I call that the 30-second elevator speech. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I thought, ooh, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it.
Okay.
In 1973, as a senior in high school. That was the year Live and Let Die came out, the James Bond movie, with Jane Seymour as Solitaire the card reader. And a local store had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it. Like I say, we were all hippies then. We had our elephant bell bottoms, our David Crosby fridge jacket, and our deck. So for 20 years, I've just read for friends, making sure that I could tell the stories, keep my ego out of the way. All of a sudden, in the early 1990s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, you're working for us. I did it part-time while I did all kinds of other work. But on 9/11, I looked at my husband and I said, I need to do this work full-time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you. Go do it. So since then, it's been 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's a huge difference.
Absolutely, and it's something that many people, especially people in the that want to improve their life, they strive for this situation when they can their vocation and their profession merge, and they do it because it is the right thing to do, and out of pure joy. They can't
Yes.
wait for that to start. You said that you have these thousands of people that you have done readings for, and I realized that, and I'm going to ask you about some of these questions, but before, I want to start with one that you say that it's the one question that many people ask you
Oh,
or
yeah.
have asked you, and it's the one question that you refuse to give an answer, and that's about what is my purpose. So let's talk about this first, and then there are other questions that I would like to ask about the readings,
Sure.
etc. But
All right, let's just pop back to my father for a moment. He used to tell me, you should be a lawyer. You're so good with words. You're good in front of people. Now, I've worked for lawyers. I wouldn't want to be a lawyer. And it's the same thing if a psychic says, your purpose is to help build wells in Africa, and you're afraid of snakes? Well, the psychic didn't know that. And now you have another should burden. I should be doing this. The purpose in our life, it's when we get excited about what we get to tell God we got to do down here, when we go back upstairs and he hands us a cup of coffee and says, so tell me. And you'll only find your purpose. What have your challenges been? How do you view the world? What brings you comfort? What traumas have you lived through? What do you want to be remembered for? That's what shapes the purpose. Otherwise, it's like walking into a class for Russian literature and the teacher hands you the book of War and Peace and you hand it back. You read it. Why don't you tell me what it's about? No. Purpose has to carve itself deep inside us. It's our best friend. It's our cheerleader. It's the one that says, I want to walk with you all the way down the road. And that has to come from your own emotions and knowledge.
With the purpose, I will always remember a phrase I read about that it's not like something like a rock standing somewhere to be discovered. It is rather, it is something like a poem that you, or a song that you compose instead. So I remember that image very much about the purpose. How then should one connect, or what's something one can do to connect with that purpose? And if they haven't found it, or if they're not sure, how can they bring it up more?
Well, look at the things that you keep running into in your life. One of the examples I use in my book, Clean Out Your Life Closet, is your relationship with money. Let's say that you grew up having money problems in the family, whether it caused arguments, whether there wasn't ever enough to eat, things like that. Well, so money is core to you, but does it make you so afraid you'll never have enough that you hoard things? Does it make you want to learn how to live with as little money as possible? Does it make you compassionate toward others who are growing up like you and you want to change their lives? So that's one example, and three very different ways of living your life based on that first core experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, I agree that purpose is a poem, but it's also your partner. And what do you want your partner to look like? What do you want to do together? Your purpose isn't supposed to beat you up. You can't say, I have to do this. Because if you're pushing yourself to do it and there's no joy, that's somebody else that has told you that's your purpose. Like my father telling me I should be a lawyer. The purpose is what you want to do more of. It's what excites you. It's what warms you. It's what you can sprinkle out in the world like glitter and see it land. That's how you find it.
Thank you for this answer. You talk about, I will stay in this topic. You talk about the concept of discovering your sentence of passion. Can you elaborate on this idea and how that will relate back to the purpose?
Your sentence of passion is like your rallying cry. It's different from your motto. Your motto is what you say to yourself in the mirror every morning. My motto, I have public and then a humorous private one. My public one is live the examined life. But my private one is a line from Robert Heinlein's book, Time Enough for Love, which I truly believe. In life, moderation is for monks. Take big bites. You're going to do it, just do it. But my rallying cry, cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly, is that magic incantation that I offer to the world. A friend of mine that I worked with wasn't sure what she was meant to do until she looked at what she was enjoying, and that was working in a hospice situation. And she realized that her sentence of passion is, I light the lamp to bring the weary home. Because she was that bright light that told people it was okay to let go, to help them make sure everything was said before they passed. And when we have that clear sentence of passion, we don't get lost. We always come back to it like a beacon, like a lighthouse.
How does one come up with that rallying cry, that sentence of passion?
You play with words. You
Okay.
play with words. You don't think about what you can't do. You think about what you can do, what you love, what do you want to tell God you got to do when you were down here? That's how to think of it. When we have that one sentence, we don't get lost. And you don't have to look, I admit, words are my drug of choice. I am a writer. But it's one of the reasons that I have a sentence of passion consultation. I help people find the sentence, but I don't tell them. They have 2 pages of homework with me before they even sit down. And it's things like, do you run away from or towards change? What do you want to change in the world? If you look in the mirror, what's the first thing you see? So I show people how to look at themselves positively, compassionately, and with excitement. And then the sentence kind of just bubbles out of them. I guess I'm supposed to X. And I say, don't say supposed to. Say, I want. And their eyes light up and they go, I want to do X. It's right there. And they have chosen it. They have discovered it. So they own it. It's not just one more finger in the face from somebody telling you what you should do with your life.
So I understand it kind of comes as an insight. It comes from within. So the whole body, every cell
Absolutely.
of you knows that this is it.
Yes. Yes. You don't quite hear the angel choir, but it's close.
Sure, sure. But I think that each of us has had some experience or experiences in the past where
Hmm.
they had this kind of insight, this aha, this realization that didn't just come from the mind. It was not just a thought. It was something much deeper, much inner, if you want, that spoke to
Visceral. The
visceral.
word you want is visceral.
Visceral, absolutely, absolutely. That's great. Um, And I do have one more question about this. I find it fascinating,
Hmm.
this concept, the sentence of passion. Once you have it, once you have really discovered it and you know that this is it,
Hmm.
is there something that one does to maintain that as a primary focus in the decisions? Is it something that you can actually scream out loud? Do you do something with it, or you just let it be in the background?
It's like a mantra. It
Hmm.
is truly like a mantra.
Mantra.
Um, if you find yourself in a situation you're not sure should you participate, well, for me, cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness. Does this limit people or does it expand them? Does it show superiority on my part or is it equality? Will they fly or will they get dependent on me? I don't want my clients dependent on me. If they come to me once and never again because I've given them what they need, I am perfectly fine with that. I don't want to be like one of those new age gurus that have written 42 books and they tell you the same thing and now they're taking you on a cruise where you pay to hear them say the same thing. I have no interest in that because that betrays my own sense of passion. They don't fly, they stay chained to me. I won't have that.
If you're enjoying this episode, can you find one person that you think would add value to and share it with them? I would really appreciate you, and it really helps grow the show and also helps you add value to people you care about. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the episode. Um, you there is something you mentioned already 2 or 3 times so far.
Mhm.
This it was the phrase "cross the bridges" from I think you said from fear to fearlessness, and
Yes.
I think that resonates, and that for many it's the breaking out of their comfort zone, which is the fear in some extent. I'm
Hmm.
not saying it's exactly the same thing, but I'm just rephrasing it in a different way that I can connect more, because fearlessness is a very intense word. So
Hmm.
fearlessness, it's not for many something that it's easy to be achieved. So maybe that's why I dialed it down a tone and used an example for myself, breaking or going outside of the comfort zone. Any thoughts
Yes.
on this
That's part of it,
difference?
but it is also hand in hand with what I call living the examined life. Here
Okay.
is something happening to me that I don't want to happen, but I can't avoid it. Find 3 things that you can learn from it. Because I'm a teacher, I then look for 3 things that I can take from it to teach with. And then I go next. I don't stay dwelling in that part. The example I use is I have done what I call the cancer dance 3 times. And the third time was right after I got married. And the doctors said, even though it's a second primary, the danger clock is back to 0 3 times. And they named all of the things that they were going to have to do, which would take me from the beautiful, you know, knockout that my husband had married 18 months before to, as I refer it, a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And they said, sorry, that's what it is. I mean, this was a teaching hospital. And they really weren't concerned about the patient. They were concerned about the diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home for 24 hours and cried. I'm normal. But then I knew I have to find 3 reasons to be okay with it. Things like you don't have them, you can't get cancer there. Fine, implants. I'll have a youthful figure till I'm 93, whatever. And I got my head around the idea that I could find out who I was without the bombshell figure that I had had since I was a young teenager. With that mindset, I got out of the hospital in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5. It's been 19 years. I'm 68. I've made it through. And I have taught other women who are facing this cancer dance how to walk with their head high and not be afraid. That's an example of fear to fearlessness.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I call it the cancer dance, I don't say I fought cancer because what you fight fights back. And I hear the word survivor and I think of someone hanging on by teeth and toenails. A cancer dancer finds out how graceful they can be under pressure. They avoid getting their toes stepped on and they get off the dance floor in one piece. It's a much more positive way of looking at it. It doesn't negate what some people will have to go through, chemo and radiation and surgery, but it gives them strength. So that is a living example of why Cross the Bridge from Fear to Fearlessness and Fly is so important for me to teach.
That's great. Thank you for sharing this example and this part of your personal story, Corbie. I will switch a little bit, but not very much, the topic.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to discuss a little bit more about the readings. So
Sure.
you have done thousands of readings over the years, as you were
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
And if we leave beside that question about what is my purpose that you never answer, can you tell me a couple of the very common questions that people ask you?
Besides, does Bruce love me? Oh my God. The romance stuff. I say that people come to me for basically 4 things. Your everyday tour bus, house, car, job, family, career. Okay, God put me here. What am I supposed to do with it? Which is different from purpose. Past lives. Why do I have this passion about 1642 Belgium and why am I afraid of pancakes? They want to speak to their spirit guides and they want to speak to dead Aunt Mabel. But I remind them, we're not dial-a-dead. If your person's on a field trip up in heaven, they won't be by the phone. And yes, I'm very funny. I've actually done stand-up comedy about you think a psychic's life is easy. What that does is that puts people very much at ease.
Mm-hmm.
I joke that I'm not one of those famous psychics who goes, yes, I'm so perfect and my aura doesn't stink. But I don't like doing yes or no questions. Again, it gives them no place to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you came to me and said, I'd like to open up my own broadcast studio, I would not throw down 3 cards and say, wait until October and fire the redhead. It would be a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Giving you as much information as I can to help you formulate your dream and go after it. I'm supposed to be here to help, not to tell you this is the way it is, because you have to remember, even the best intuitive is only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he doesn't do Zoom readings this week. Sorry.
Out of those, topics, you said the everyday tour bus, I think you called it past lives.
Yes, it's like, and I'm pointing out this and this and this and this.
One thing I have personally found when I had some readings, I haven't had many, but I've had a few readings in the past, was what questions to ask. Is that something that you believe it's something that has to come intuitively, or is it something that should be logically? Because obviously you can ask 100 questions, but that's probably, apart from impractical, it's also going to be irrelevant as well, even if you got an answers for 100 questions.
That's why when you sit down with me, I don't just start,
Okay.
because no matter how fast I read, and I am fast, I can't get your entire life in 30 minutes. And if I spend time on relationships and career and finances, but what you really wanted to look at is you're having trouble with your youngest child, you're going to leave saying, "Ah, she didn't tell me anything."
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit down with me, the first thing I do is I look at you and say, what is the most important thing you want to walk out of here knowing today?
Okay.
And generally, people will know what that is. That isn't a cheat, but that is like, you wouldn't walk into the doctor's office and say, figure it out. The doctor would take a history, and you might say, I have a sore throat. My knee keeps going out on me. I'm always tired. Then the
Mm-hmm.
doctor would know scalpel, x-ray, antibiotic shot. And you wouldn't say, if you can't figure it out without my telling you, you're a lousy doctor. It's the same thing with us. So when people come to me, they know I'm not going to yell at them, tell them that they have a family curse and they need a $600 candle. Those people I refer to the Madam Hoo-Has and the Swami Swalandas. I will help them as much as I can. I did a private party this weekend, and it was very funny. A woman comes in with her newest baby on her hip, and she goes, you know, when I first got married, you said I was going to have 4 kids, and my husband and I said, never. This is number 4. I go like this, that was your choice, not mine. I don't think about how accurate I am, because that gets your ego involved. You have to be the clear tube it comes from. And sometimes I will tell people things they don't want to hear. And that has happened, and they get up and they berate me and they leave. But more than once, someone has come back and said, last time you said X and Y, and I didn't like it, but X and Y did occur, and I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. And I just chuckle and say, don't shoot the messenger. So if it gives you ideas, if it gives you directions, if it gives you tools for your life, I did the right thing. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
I can attest to that personal experience, that I got ideas, I got insights on already, things that really inspired me to write down an action that I will do as a result of that, because it really made sense at that time. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that one of the categories that people ask you about is past lives. And
Yes.
if you were to speak to some, if, let's say someone listening now is not very familiar with this, could you explain why knowing about past lives could be important?
Well, you don't just want to say, I'm curious, and just pick one. Because if you're a janitor in Des Moines, Iowa, and all of a sudden you find out you were Napoleon Bonaparte, do you really want to keep using the mop? And I cannot tell you the number of women who have come to me and say, I must have been Anne Boleyn because I can't wear a turtleneck. No. The example I use, I do retrieval, which is not regression. Very important. Regression is where the client gets hypnotized and goes into the Akashic records. And that must only be done by a certified hypnotherapist. But my talent is being able to go up very quickly, pull the past life down for your question, and show you. An example. A woman came to me and said, I'm really worried about my son. He's 29. He still won't live more than a mile from me. He asks me about every important decision he has to make. This is not normal. Is there a past life cause of this? And I took a few minutes to what I call go upstairs. And I said, all right, I'm seeing 1944 Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your son is a soldier on the beach. He's got a lot of shrapnel in the leg. It's a bad wound. You're his commanding officer. You see him, you drag him over a dune. You take some shrapnel too, but you both live. And she looks at me and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yes, you were a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old, and we have never known why. That's why. That's why. There's that. It's not a matter of bad and good karma, which is kindergarten. Karma is 5 things: healing, service, contrast, unbalanced energy, and healing of beliefs. So if you come in, again, we'll go back to into a poor family. Why did your pre-birth plan choose to deal with poverty? Was it that before you were wealthy and hoarded your money? Was it before you were so poor that you stole? Was it that you were never able to do the things that you wanted because you always had so much money you never thought about it? The higher self, the soul, is the one that gives us our life plans. But we have free will on how to make it work. It's like the difference between choosing your college major and choosing the courses that will get you there. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons that I tell people, don't beat yourself up. You don't have bad karma. It's not that you were awful before. I use an example of the actor Matt Smith, who was the 11th Doctor in Doctor Who. He was my doctor. But when he was done with that, he became Prince Philip for the first 2 seasons of The Crown. And when he was done with that, he became some crazy person on House of the Dragon. Matt Smith is like our soul, our higher self. The Doctor, the Prince, and the guy on the dragon, those are our incarnations. You and I will never be down here again as this recipe. It's the soul that keeps coming back. So a past life, when the soul was someone different, may give us some clues about why we are dealing with things now.
Thank you, Corbie. Thank you very much for your answer. You gave me everything I wanted to hear, and I hope that also the same happened with the listener. It has been a truly fascinating conversation. Imagine from everything that we've talked about so far, Corbie, what's one thing you can advise my listeners to do right now to start that change or make some progress in whatever it is that they are?
I want them to ask themselves 3 questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first is, what am I X about? X being angry, disappointed, scared, depressed. So what am I X about? Why am I X about that? And if you think to yourself, I don't know, the next question is if you had to guess, because when we tell ourselves we can guess, we will always find out what it is. And the third question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? What am I scared about? I'm scared about the cancer situation. Why am I scared about that? Because I don't know if anyone will love me or what I'll look like afterwards. What do you think would happen if you stopped being scared about that? I could control my own emotions better, and I would not be so scared with other people. And so they'd see I'm still me. But we never ask that third question. That is the true beginning of knowledge. Questions are not so much signs of doubts as the ability to crystallize what we really know.
Thank you. These 3 questions, I think they are invaluable in really examining whatever it is that is happening right now, and will lead to some answers. So thank you very much. This I believe it's really, really valuable, Corbie. I have 2 last quick fire questions to ask you to wrap things up. Before I do that, would you share with the listener where can they go and find out more about you?
Oh, they can't avoid me. I'm all over the internet.
I think if they listened so far, they probably don't want to avoid you.
My website is CorbieMitleid.com. Mm-hmm. You can find me under Corbie Mitleid with YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Patreon, and on Facebook, it's Corbie Mitleid Fire Through Spirit.
So, and the last 2 questions I always ask my guests is, the first one is, what does personal development mean to you?
Finding your own treasure, learning that nothing is wrong with you and nothing ever was, and find out what you truly believe about yourself. Own it, love it, hold it up for people to see.
I love this answer. Thank you. And let's say you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self. What's one piece of advice you would give her?
It's hard. Don't walk away from the hard stuff, because that's what makes you who you are.
Corbie, I want to thank you very much. This has been, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and I believe there were some very important insights in there, or wisdom, if you want, to be converted into insights in there. So I really appreciate our conversation. I want to wish you all the very best with carrying on your purpose. Any last parting words from you?
This was fun. That's what it was. And that's, if you can have fun and you can live your purpose at the same time, what could be better?
And before I leave you for today, if you've enjoyed this episode, can you find one person that you think it would add value to and share it with them? I would really appreciate you. Not only does this help grow the show, it also helps you add value to people you care about. Thank you so much. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,